Hi everyone. This is what happened to me when I got government housing part 71. So, in this video, I'm in the strange situation where I have to tell you that all of this is my opinion and meant for informational and entertainment purposes only. But I'm going to be showing you evidence of what I'm talking about. And that sounds strange, but that's how things work. And the really weird thing about telling the truth is that some people still don't believe what you're saying, even when you show them the evidence, just because it hasn't been judged as being true in a court. And that's a real shame because you get people like me who want the truth to be known. And then there are other people who seem very good at covering up the truth. So, as you know, even though I'm telling my story about what happened to me, and I was treated pretty badly by a lot of people who work in the justice system in Melbourne, so obviously I have a right to tell my story. But as you know, I always put up a disclaimer at the end of these videos because that's what we're expected to do. Even though I've repeatedly said that I'm willing to have my claims tested, or that they can be proven, or that some things are just my feelings or my interpretations. So I shouldn't need a disclaimer for those things, but it appears that that's what the expectation is. So I know there's been a little bit of a gap, and for those of you who are following along my story, I'm sorry that there's been a gap, but I've been, struggling with things in my own personal life. And, as you know, I'm not getting paid to do these. So it's very difficult because I can't prioritize something that, takes a lot of labor and effort, especially when I'm not up to it. And for some reason, I've been really sick this winter, but there's no point in talking about that because, I have no idea what everyone else is going through. But so I have thought a lot about how to do this video, and I wanted to omit some parts because I don't want to identify people, and especially not people that I don't have a problem with. Like, people may think that I enjoy saying things about people, but I don't. I might want the people who did the wrong thing to see justice, obviously, but I don't want like anyone who hasn't done the wrong thing to suffer. But the fact is that, when you're telling a story and there's lots of people involved, the fact is that other people get named as well. I mean, if I was filming a crime, I'd be filming the bystanders as well. And that's just how it is. And I mean, I think it's what has happened is important enough for me to try to give everyone the best picture. And if I do omit details, then that might affect people's understanding of what actually happened. And I want people to understand what happened. And, I think that's the most important thing. So, I'll explain like what I mean as I go along, and hopefully you'll understand what I'm saying. So, on the 9th of the 8th, 2017, I had to attend the Melbourne Magistrates Court for the final hearing for my personal safety order against a respondent. But before I got to court, the intimidation was already beginning. In the morning, I took my daughter to school and I saw that the respondent had parked his van outside her school, which obviously looked like an intimidation tactic. And I've said before that he seemed to think that he was communicating something to me when he presented himself to me. And he did that in many ways, but in this occasion, he was presenting his vehicle to me. But I wasn't going to be intimidated by it. So I have this photo here that shows his work van outside my daughter's school. And once again, I was representing myself, and the respondent attended court with a lawyer. And I never knew how he could afford a lawyer, but he did. And I need to talk about this lawyer. And luckily for me, it wasn't the respondent's usual lawyer. That is, that nasty idiot who yelled at me until I burst into tears. But this lawyer was notable for other reasons, and this court hearing was quite notable for other reasons. And people need to know what happened to me. And I'm going to try and get all of this out as best I can. And obviously, if anyone has any questions, let me know. And if necessary, I may even end up having to redo this video for all we know. And you'll understand that a little bit later in the video. So I just wanted to start out by saying that this man was polite, and I don't have a personal problem with him, and I don't have a problem with his conduct. But the strange thing was that I believe that this man, who was the lawyer representing the respondent, was actually Mr. Tas Antos. And that man is the lawyer who represented James Gargasoulis, who killed people in what became known as the Burke Street Massacre. And I'm saying that I believe this lawyer was Tas Antos because he didn't introduce himself to me. And this is my belief. It's not like he showed me his driver's license or anything like that. He didn't hand me a piece of paper which said his name, which I really think lawyers should do when you go in court. I don't think it's good enough for lawyers to waltz into court and just, launch into their accusations or their questionings without introducing themselves. But for some reason they don't. And anyway, so this is my belief that it was this man. But if Tas wants to contact me and correct me on that, I am more than happy to redo this video and say that I don't know who the lawyer was or whatever is necessary. But I'm saying that I believe that it was Tas because I believe it was Tas. Okay, I'm not making things up. I'm not trying to throw this man in anything. But people need to understand my personal situation and what I was faced with on the occasions that I walked into the Melbourne Magistrates Court, which was, as you must understand, like quite bizarre. So now we have another problem. I have to live with the knowledge that the respondent, who was nothing more than a violent thug who liked assaulting single mums, and I know that because he did it to me. No, that's not a claim, that's a fact. I saw him when he threw a punch at me. He did assault me, blah, blah, blah. So I have to live with the fact that lowlife was able to get a lawyer of the caliber of Tas Antos. And I don't want to drag Tas down by mentioning him in my story because, as I said, I have no reason. I mean, he may hate my guts for all I know, but I have no reason to believe that. As for all I know, he went into court, he was representing that guy, and I'm not saying that there was anything personal in what he did. As far as I'm aware, he was simply hired to represent the respondent, and that's all there was to it. But I have to say that because that's what I believe, and this is one more overwhelmingly creepy and bizarre part of my story which I think the public should know about, and, you know, people, someone somewhere, you know, needs to like acknowledge that what that must have been like, you know, for me. But anyway, I've had to live with, you know, what happened to me. So I can't emphasize how ridiculous and bizarre it is that a lawyer who represented a killer in one of the worst cases of multiple murder in the history of Victoria was representing the respondent, who claimed to be a pensioner living in government housing. And further to that, that I was the one, as a single mum, an uneducated single mum, who, you know, I didn't finish high school. And at that stage, the highest qualification I had was, you know, just a TAFE qualification. I was forced to go into court and to fight that lawyer in order to get a personal safety order to protect myself and, you know, my livelihood and my home against the respondent. But as I said, if that lawyer was not Taz Santos, he's welcome to contact me in the comments or anywhere else on social media. Let me know that's not him. And I'll remove this video and I'll redo it, you know, for your benefit, and I'll rephrase it. I really don't care whether or not it's him, but I'm saying this because, you know, I have reason to believe that it was him, and, you know, I think everyone should understand why it needs to be included in part of this series. I only ask that Mr. Antos does not contact me by phone, because as everyone should appreciate, that's not the best way to contact me. But, you know, I do my best to have a look at the messages that people send me on social media. Anyway, so now I was in court and I was told that the person hearing my case was a judicial registrar, not a judge. And this person seemed bored with the whole hearing and like they would rather be somewhere else. Obviously, I found that really offensive, as I wouldn't rather be somewhere else. I had waited ages for this hearing, and it meant the world to me to get an order against the respondent so I could possibly have him charged with some of the things that he had done to me. This judicial registrar was rude and dismissive and seemed to have an attitude towards me. She behaved like the court hearing was a distraction from some other things that she would rather be doing. I had provided all evidence to the court, and none had been provided to me by the respondent's lawyer. However, when I was on the stand, the respondent's lawyer showed me a document which appeared to be a thank you letter from the respondent to the local police. I have the note here, and I was furious when I saw it. I was also confused, and I thought that it was evidence of bias against me by the police, because when I went to the police, they would yell at me and refuse to take my statement or shoo me away from the station. And when the respondent spoke to the police, it was a positive situation that resulted in statements and thank you notes. I couldn't believe it, but because I didn't have a lawyer, I didn't know what to do about the document. What was worse than that was that when I was on the stand, I was questioned, and after everything I had been through, the judicial registrar actually gave the respondent an indefinite order against me and refused my application for an order against him. There was no evidence that I had been violent towards the respondent, and I don't believe that there was any justification for giving the respondent an order against me, let alone an indefinite order. And I had shown the court evidence of all the incidents that I had suffered and videos of the respondent's behaviour, and the judicial registrar had the gall to refuse my application, which left me in danger. I was disgusted by the behaviour of the Judicial Registrar, and I didn't know what to do. I believe the outcome of that hearing was grossly unfair, and I think the conduct of the judge was outrageous. And if the Melbourne Magistrates Court release the video of that court hearing, everyone can see what happened to me.